Hello everyone, Chaos Theory here. I've got my desk set up now, my office space since we moved, and so now I can start making content again. I'm really excited about it. I'm going to keep things going with the Constructed Starter Deck series. So we're going to go ahead and dive right back into this. So the first step in the deck building outline is to pick our starting point. Now, I had already made a Brennan Burn Constructed Starter Deck that was focused on killing your opponent with direct damage. I'd made an Echo starter deck that was focused on like building a giant unit and using bypass to swing and get big damage. But I really wanted to make a starter deck that was really just focused on like good stuff, fundamental ashes. Straightforward game plan, fight for the board, get swings in whenever you can, and then finish your opponent off with some burn. This is just kind of classic fundamental ashes here. So we're going to make a good stuff Namine deck. Now, Namine is a Phoenixborn that I think is definitely underplayed and perhaps a bit undervalued. When people look at Namine, they see her Phoenixborn ability, spending a Sympathy class die to draw a card. You put an exhaustion token on this card and then an exhaustion token on a target Phoenixborn. Now, what this means is because you're exhausting to pay the cost and you're putting an exhaustion token on this card, you can only use this ability once every other round, which seems not great because you're essentially playing a blank Phoenixborn every other round. However, having a built-in choke effect that you can use in certain matchups against Phoenixborns that have really strong abilities or rely on their Phoenixborn abilities in their first round, can be really strong. So if you are up against a Phoenixborn that you need to use this effect, it's there for you. And if not, you just ignore it, don't use it. Now, it would feel kind of bad to have a blank Phoenixborn ability in certain matchups, of course, but Namine has pretty good stats here. 6 battlefield is pretty strong, and 4 spellboard is great. However, the real reason that you play Namine is for her signature ability, or signature card, which is Encore. Now, Encore is an action spell. You play a main action, and you search your discard pile for a card that isn't Encore, put it on the top or bottom of your deck, draw a card. You almost never see anyone put a card on the bottom of the deck, although I'm sure there's probably some niche uses for that. But mostly, you're putting a card from your discard pile on top and drawing it, which means you can essentially just pick whatever the best card is in your discard pile. Encore is that card. It can be really, really, really strong. So we're going to put 3 of those in there. So we still are kind of working on our starting point here, which is we want to build a good stuff Namine deck. And I think whenever I think of just good stuff, like just strong cards, strong abilities, playing fundamental ashes, I always think of nature. Nature is just the magic type that is sort of, I mean, it's the best magic type in the game right now for sure. It does everything that you want to be doing in Ashes very, very well. And the cards are generally really strong. The dice ability is strong. So we're going to be using nature for sure. And since we're using sympathy for Namine's ability, and we're trying to stick to only 2 colors for these starter decks, those are going to be our colors. We're going to be going with nature and sympathy. Okay, so since we have our starting point, which is making a good stuff Namine deck, with nature and sympathy, we're going to move on to building our skeleton. So what are going to be our core build around cards in this list? Well, we know we're going to be using nature and sympathy, so let's go ahead and get those going. As always, with building your skeleton, I think it's a really good idea to think about what you want your spell board to look like for the rest of the game. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have 4 spell board slots. We're going to use all 4 of them. And since we're playing like good stuff nature, let's just go ahead and look at the summons that we have available to us here. I think no other unit in the game really encapsulates like playing good stuff strong Ashes cards better than Frostback Bear. So we're definitely going to want to include summon Frostback Bear spell, just because Bear it's just really strong. The first bear that you summon costs 3 dice because it costs 1 nature power die to put this spell into play. But every bear after that is only 2 cost, and a 2 cost 2/3 with terrifying 1 is just it's really, really strong. It's just a really, really strong card. So we're going to be putting that into our spell board for sure. It's going to be one of our main units that we use to pressure our opponent. Okay, another nature unit that I think is just really generically very strong is Butterfly Monk. It's just a 1/1 unit guard and it heals you. The healing in particular, I mean, it can heal a unit or a Phoenixborn, which can be really annoying when they're trying to kill like a key unit on your side of the field if you just keep healing it. But also, it's very useful in matchups where you're dealing it with burn damage. And almost any competitive deck in Ashes is going to have some way to deal some direct damage to try and finish the opponent off. So just having the ability to like heal a little bit throughout the game can just swing the game in your favor so much because it really makes them work that much harder to kill you. If you get 2 Butterfly Monks to die in your game and you heal 2 damage, that's another sympathy pain that they have to play to kill you. Or if you get 3 of them, that's a whole other Molten Gold that they have to use to kill you. These are not cheap cards to play, they're limited resources. So Butterfly Monk is really, really strong. And the Unit Guard is a really, really strong ability as well. So we're definitely going to put Butterfly Monk in this list. Also, I want one more spell book in my list to be able to summon some units. And when I'm looking at the kind of options that we have here, there's a lot of different good options. Salamander Monk is probably the best one. However, I'm not going to play Salamander Monk in this list. Instead, I decided to put in Summon Ancestor Spirit. Ancestor Spirit is just a 2/1 that when it comes into play, you draw a card. And if you do draw a card, place 1 card from your hand on the bottom of your draw pile. So the reason that I picked Ancestor Spirit over Salamander Monk is because I want to be able to draw into my most powerful cards, like Encore. I'm also another sort of build around card that I think has got to be in this list is I want to be able to play lots of Molten Golds. I'm going to put 3 Molten Golds in this list. And between having 3 Molten Golds and 3 Encore, I have access to quite a lot of bursty burn damage that I can kill my opponent very quickly. If I have a Molten Gold and an Encore in hand, 4 nature dice means I can kill my opponent from 6 health, which is quite a lot actually. Now the last Spellboards card that we're going to put in here that I think complements both the nature fight for the board game plan and the burn game plan that we have going on here is Frostbite. Frostbite is really great for pinging off cheap units or setting up units to be killed with other removal, and it can be used to burn down the Phoenixborn as well. When you have 2 or 3 Frostbites sitting on the board and it's focused, your opponent has to worry about quite a lot of burn damage, especially if we're playing the Molten Gold Encore plan too. We might be able to do 7 or 8 damage just with Frostbites and Molten Golds here, so we can set up our kills really efficiently. Okay, so now that we have the skeleton of our deck, we're going to go ahead and start fleshing it out. And I really like to start with fleshing out the deck with allies. So one of the key allies in this combination, it's going to be no surprise to anyone, is we want 3 Raptor Herders in the list. So Raptor Herder, I mean, it's just one of the best value units in the game. It only costs 1 nature or sympathy, because that parallel cost. You get a 1/1, and that 1/1 also summons a 0/1 that has group tactics too. So when you declare 3 or more attackers, you add 2 to this unit's attack value. This is just a really, really, really solid ally. It's very, very good. And we're playing good stuff, nature sympathy, so it goes in. It's 3 of them. Not a whole lot to say about that. So another really strong unit, if we're talking about just playing the best cards in this combination, is River Scald. I don't want to play 3 River Scald for 2 reasons. One, because the chained list means that River Scald can't be included in our first 5 and can't be played in round 1. So we don't really want to see it early on. Secondly, I'm a little concerned about the double sympathy cost for this card because we're going so heavy into nature for playing multiple Molten Golds, and we've got Frostbite Bears and Butterfly Monks and Frostbite. So I'm a little concerned about being able to play too many of these. So we're just going to put 2 in the list. But it's just a really strong unit. It's a 2/2 that filters cards and deals damage to units. It's just really, really good. So we're going to put 2 of those in there as well. Right now, we don't have much in the way of bigger units. I mean, Frostbite Bear is kind of our most resilient unit right now. So I want to include a 3-cost unit. And when you look at the 3-cost units in this color combination, you really only have 2 choices. You have Beast Mage, which I don't think really fits in this deck because it's only good every other turn. That 2/2 stat line for 3 is not the kind of like high value unit that we want to play in this deck. So instead, we're going for Huntmaster. A Huntmaster is really great with token synergy because it comes into play with 2 status tokens on it. So it can be really strong with like stuff like explosive growth, which we could consider for this for sure. But really, it's just a really good value card. You get a 2/3, recover 2, and you get a 1/1. So you're getting essentially 3/4 stat line. It's just split up into 2 units. It helps you go a little bit wider. And then Huntmaster itself, without exhausting it, you can remove status tokens to add to the attack value of other cards, which I think works really well with our Raptor Herder, with our Frostback Bear. If you want to beef up your Frostback Bear before you swing, it's really, really strong. It just is going to make all of our other units just a little bit stronger. And I think it's particularly good with Ancestor Spirit because it makes it a 3 attack unit. The difference between 2 attack and 3 attack is really big in this game. It means that Ancestor Spirit can threaten some bigger units. Another reason why I didn't want to play Salamander Monk instead of this. So we're going to go ahead and put 2 Huntmaster in here. We don't want too many of them, but I think it's going to be a really strong unit to play. Okay, so it's at this point that I want to move away from allies and start looking at some other really strong cards to flesh out our deck with. And one of the ones that comes to mind, again, we're kind of hitting all of the best cards that we can possibly throw in here. And that card is Massive Growth. So we're throwing 3 Massive Growth in here. Again, this card is on the chain list, just like River Scald. It's on here because it's really difficult to deal with, especially in round 1. So we can't play it in round 1. We can't put it in our first 5, but it's just a massively valuable card. You get 4 attack and 4 life for 2 dice. And yes, it has fleeting, so it's not going to be sticking around, but we can really make this damage count the turn that we play it. No matter what, it can be used on a unit as like pseudo removal to like kill a big knight by beefing it up and attacking. It can be used with Frostback Bear to make it a 6/7 unit with Terrifying 1 that can swing in and deal a massive amount of damage. Massive Bear it's almost an archetype in itself. And it's just another way to like make all these kind of little units that we're summoning, like Butterfly Monks, the Panther Spirit from Huntmaster, and the Raptor Hatchling. It can make any unit in our deck very threatening. Okay, so this is kind of our deck fleshed out. We have 8 slots left, so we need to start asking some questions about like what is this deck missing? We need to put in some tech cards. And one of the first questions I think we have here is, what does our removal look like? Right now, we have Frostbite to deal with smaller units. We have Molten Gold in a pinch, but we really don't want to use that as removal. And we have River Scald, which is sort of removal, but it depends on what's in our hand and what we draw. So really, we're kind of missing removal here. We need something for sure. So there are 2 cards that I considered here for removal that I think are very strong. The first is one of my favorite cards for Sympathy, Crescendo. So Crescendo is just a really, really strong card. When you declare attackers, you deal damage to a target unit you control, and then deal 3 damage to a target unit. This can be a way to kill our Butterfly Monks to give us healing. You can always ping a Frostback Bear or a Huntmaster because they have a higher life totals. When you're swinging in to do an attack and you deal 3 damage to a unit, usually that means that you can clear a blocker while attacking, which can be very strong. If your opponent's expecting to be able to block a massive growthed unit, and you clear the only blocker they had left to block that unit, it can make things really difficult for them. So Crescendo is great. It's not like multi-purpose removal. It's kind of specific to certain situations, but it's a really, really strong card. It can and has won many games on its own. So we're going to put 3 of those in there for sure. The other removal card that I want to put in the list actually has a lot of synergy with the Molten Gold game plan that we have going on. And this is one of my favorite pet cards that I think is very, very good. and that is Shared Sorrow. So Shared Sorrow, it's an action spell. It costs a Sympathy class and a Basic, so it's a little bit expensive, 2 dice. But you discard a card from your hand with a magic play cost of 1 or more, and you search your discard pile for another card with a magic play cost of X, and then deal X damage to a target unit. And X is the play cost of the discarded card. So essentially what you're doing is you're trading a card in your hand for a card in your discard pile with the same cost, and then you deal damage of the cost of the card to a unit in play. So it's doing a lot. It's actually filtering your hand, it's recurring cards from your discard pile, and it's dealing damage to units. The reason I want to put 3 in this list is, again, for the removal, but also look at the 2 cost cards in our list. We have River Scald, which again is one of the best units in the game. It's very powerful. We have Massive Growth, which is another one of the most powerful cards in the game that's very hard to deal with. And we have Molten Gold, which is basically one of our key win condition cards. So Shared Sorrow can grab any of these cards from the discard pile, or trade one that's in our hand for one that's more useful, and deal 2 damage to a unit in the process. So I think Shared Sorrow is going to be really good here. And also it essentially gives us access to 9 Molten Golds, because we can play 3 Molten Golds, we can play 3 with Encore, and we can play 3 more with Shared Sorrow. So potentially 9 Molten Golds in this list. Okay, so we're up to 28 cards out of 30. There are 2 more cards we can slot in here, and there were 2 that I had in mind. They're both allies, and they both have a lot of synergy with some of the stuff that we have going on here. The first one is Polarity Mage. So Polarity Mage, when this unit comes into play, you can search your discard pile for an alteration, place it in your hand, or discard a target alteration spell attached to a unit you control. The reason I'm putting this in here is just, recur Massive Growth. Again, we have lots of ways to get this card back out of the discard pile with Shared Sorrow and Polarity Mage. We're going to be playing lots of Massive Growths. And since we're going to be playing a lot of Massive Growths, another card that I think is really useful here is Flute Mage. If we put a Massive Growth on a Bear or Huntmaster or whatever it might be, we can use the Flute Mage to essentially use that Massive Growth again and get double value out of it, because we can remove an exhaustion token from a target unit. So this is the list, and the last thing we need to do is choose our dice spread. We want to be able to play lots of Molten Golds. We have Massive Growth, we have Bears, and so on. There's a lot of nature in here. So let's just look at what our sympathy costs are, and kind of decide from there how much nature we're going to need. So we might need 1 sympathy a turn for Ancestor Spirit. Huntmaster uses 1, Flute Mage, Polarity Mage. River Scald, we're going to need 2, so we definitely want at least 2 for River Scald. And then if we're going to play an Ancestor Spirit and a River Scald in the same turn, we're going to need at least 3. But also with Namine's ability needing to be online and having Shared Sorrow and Crescendo be such a huge part of our removal package, I definitely think we'll want at least 1 more. So 4 sympathy seems like the best bare minimum number that we need. Raptor Herder, fortunately, is a parallel cost, so we can use either or for that. I think what we do here is we just max out the rest with nature. So we run 6 nature, 4 sympathy for this list. All right, that's the entire list. This is our Good Stuff Namine constructed starter. It's got 6 nature and 4 sympathy, and this is the list. So now we're going to play a game with it and test it out. So stick around for some gameplay footage. All right, so I got my first 5 pick, and we're ready to roll.
Set.
All right, cool.
Good luck, man.
Yeah, you too. All right, I got 1.
Looks like 5 over here. No.
Okay. I will start with Prospect Bear. And let's see. I'll use Namine's ability. And yeah, we'll double exhaust the hero.
Did you
put
pay for
the
the book?
yeah. Hang on just a second. Sorry. There's turns, and then there's the frog book.
Better than I'm to that right.
Okay. I'm gonna meditate one. Then I'm gonna play. Let's see. Hunt Master. I've been playing on Ash Techie so much. I've gotten used to
Exhausting.
the automation, you know.
Yeah. I hear you. Got this guy.
All right.
What's root on him?
Okay.
What?
Side action. Remove a status token. Give this +1 and attack your Phoenixborn. Oh wait, it has the alert. I forget.
Yep.
Hang on,
Yep.
back up.
Change your mind.
Yeah, alert. Forgot about that. I think instead I'll put my Butterfly Monk book out and pass side.
And connect to.
Okay. Put the Ancestor Spirit book out side. Okay. Get a spirit. Take one. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Back to you.
All right. Attack Phoenixborn.
Lock the butterfly.
Oh yes, sorry.
Pass back.
Root armor is making me very sad.
Yeah, we'll do that. Ooh, look at that.
Yeah. All right. We'll go ahead and do 1 to PB. And again.
Okay. No cards in hand, right?
Nope.
Ledge. That's right.
Okay. Got it.
Right.
Yep. Pass back. Don't want to. Hmm.
Uh, joins as well. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead and grab a bear. Meditate.
Well, it's not worth doing. It's worth doing twice, right?
You bet. Go for it.
Wait for it.
Oh man. Hmm. There. Some- I'm really curious what's going on with the memorializes.
My secrets. You know.
Okay.
Dude.
All right. I think I will throw the bear. Yeah, I figured.
So, deal. Too.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think I will get a monk. So that was power. Side action.
You know, they don't know that.
Okay. Okay. Stir.
Take a swing at it with this guy.
Um.
At the Hot Master.
Yeah, I'll take that one. I'll just frostbite your Phoenixborn for one.
Okay. So we'll Hot Master with this guy.
Okay.
And Sonic. He's not gonna.
Sorry, wait. Oh, Sonic.
Not
Duh.
Bolt.
Duh. Duh.
Yeah, not a hammer. Similar, but
Yeah. All right.
all right. Tap that. All right, I'll just punch.
Okay.
Butterfly.
Okay.
That's it. Round.
Yep. Uh, start with bear. Oops. Um. Yeah, I think that's it.
Got an Aggernaut. I'm going to hit my own
Okay.
and fill up the ones.
Okay.
And then heal for 2.
Mm-hmm. Growth.
You're really gonna think I'm stacking my deck or something.
All right. Well, I mean, if you're gonna just sort of virtue me every round, I think I just lose.
I used all 3 of them, so now I have to use the Memorialize to get them back.
Yeah, I think it's too late for that. I mean, I don't even know if it matters. All right. Can't do anything against this at all. Big weakness of the deck. But it's a starter deck that's only running 2 killers, so yeah. Um. Hmm. Is there anything I can really do here at all? And you keep healing too, which is a big problem.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna meditate. 1, and then I'm going to molten gold your face.
I think I'll just I'll swing with the 2 knights for 6.
Okay.
And then I will Memorialize. Actually, that's real.
Okay. Uh, meditate. 1, 2, and molten gold your face again.
Another butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
And search. Oh. And
I'll frostbite. I think it's funny. And again.
Changing it from
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all yours.
swing with the two butterflies.
Yep.
It's two.
And
Uh, kind of funny to do with nothing on your side of the table. But
right, yeah.
this is a one-on-one meteor, so the swords won't take any damage.
Right. Just to heal up. Clear board
Yeah.
out.
Board out.
Yep.
Um, and I'm done if you're past that.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything I could possibly draw that would. Yeah, no. Well, you get top round swing too, so
That's right. Yep.
yep. Good
That's it.
game. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you too, man.
There's
So I'm guessing this was a new concept for you, testing something out,
well, it's a starter
or
deck.
just an unexpected.
It's one of my constructed starter decks I'm making. So
Oh, gotcha.
it's only two colors, and
Hmm.
there's no real great answer for Sonic Swordsman in here at all with the root armor.
I wish you'd
Um,
mentioned I wouldn't have picked one of my mean ones.
yeah, I mean if no, it's all right. It's uh I'm totally fine with that actually. Uh, but yeah, I think if it was just one of them, maybe I could have dealt with it, you know.
Yes, this was waiting for you to drone a
Yeah,
bit with the
yeah. If it was
spells.
just one of them, I could like River Scald or Shared Sorrow or something to get enough damage on it that Crescendo would kill it.
Mhm. Yeah,
I didn't draw any crescendos. Or if I could get a massive growth bear, um, but you sort of virtued every one of them, and
yeah. I was fortunate to pull all three of them.
yeah. And then the healing too is kind of a problem because I was like, well, maybe I could just pivot straight to burn in round two. I did it a little too
Yeah. Well, so
late
okay.
here,
So
but
you asked about the memorialized at the beginning. That's actually
uh-huh.
was the heart of the deck. Was that I played a hell of a lot of Odette, and I
Mm-hmm.
knew she was kind of weak to burn with
Oh,
decks
okay.
being swingy decks, not without a lot of stuff on the stacks. Um, so I realized if you run through heals and just keep putting them back on the bottom of your deck and shuffling with
Mm-hmm.
various cards, you can
Yeah.
outlast most burn.
Yeah. So, oh, I mean, pretty hard counter, I think, to what I'm doing over here for the most part. Um,
I
but
definitely think my top three ones.
yeah, but yeah, I don't. I mean, the rest, everything else I've got in here. Let me see. Yeah, it's just more the same. It's pretty straightforward, but it's meant to be. It's meant to be a starter deck.
Sure.
So, uh,
I played a game the other day with Namine's Precon
mm-hmm,
because it was against a new player, and I forgot how much I liked that thing.
mm-hmm.
Even though it's only one color, it's got so many like fun turn synergies.
Yeah, for sure. I've had a lot of fun playing this deck. It's actually performed a lot better in other games. But this is a one of. But mostly it's like you play Molten Golds and Massive Growths because
Sure.
they're the best card.
This
Like
guy's in
this
there to
is
bounce a massive
yeah,
damage. So yeah.
exactly. But you can use Encore to pull back Molten Golds and just play a ton of them. You've got some burn, you've got great units because you're just basically playing all the best nature and sympathy stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, I played that Namine Molten Gold thing before.
yeah, it's fun.
Actually, my I had a good game in the AIL against Ben Hodgson where we were both running Namine Molten Gold decks.
So much gold.
Yeah, it was it was a
Yeah,
mess. It ended up being real close, but he got me.
yeah. and I got shared sorrows as well. So it's like, you have
Yeah,
access to.
that's a little bit of a sleeper.
Oh, I love this card so
You don't
much.
see that very much.
But in here, like, it's your 6th through 9th copy of Molten Gold if you want it to be. But also, the cool
Whatever
part
else.
about this versus Encore is that you can remove something, you know, and pull back your Molten Gold. So it's not as much tempo loss on board. Because just
Yeah,
Encore
it's
Molten
not
Gold,
fruit
that's
like
2
on board.
turns where you're not doing anything.
For sure.
So, yeah,
No, that's like a that's like a late round trick when they think you're out or something.
yeah, for sure. Anyway, thanks for playing and
Yeah,
completely
you
destroying
too.
me.